I have been reselling part-time now for close to 5 years. That's a long time. And you would think at this point that I have my stuff together. You would think that I have things figured out and that I'm no longer in a position where I am making silly mistakes. I am here to burst your bubble and let you know that I am still out here making some of the same dumb mistakes that I made in year 1. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 ways that I suck as a reseller and what I'm going to do about it in the year 2023. Stay tuned.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body tremors for your neck.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. Like I said earlier, I am a part-time reseller and I have been at this for about 5 years at this point. And you might be asking yourself,
why are you making this video? Why are you talking about 5 ways that you suck?
But I think that one thing I've learned from being on YouTube is that sometimes it is sharing even the smallest secrets or the smallest things that I may not feel like are super important, but it's those small details that people actually relate with the most. And I've also learned that a lot of times, especially with reselling, because it is so lonely and isolated, it's something that people are for the most part just doing in their own homes by themselves. People often feel like they are the only ones who make certain kinds of mistakes. And as a result, they feel like a failure. They feel like they're so stupid for not being able to figure out how to do X, Y, and Z, or they feel like, they should know better than to do this or that. And simply just hearing that other people are experiencing the same hardships as you, simply hearing that other people struggle with the same issues, there is something comforting about that. And so I have decided that I'm going to share the top 5 ways, because there are more than just 5 ways that I suck as a reseller, but I'm going to share the top 5, and not only just like, let me tell you how awful I am, but also like what I plan on doing about it. So first of all, and man, this has been kicking me in the butt lately, I have sucked at keeping a clean inventory. What do I mean by that? I cannot tell you in the last few months how many transactions I've had to cancel because the item is nowhere to be found. And it's for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because if you watch my channel, you know that I like to cross-list to a multitude of platforms. And every once in a while, what'll happen is something will sell, let's say on Poshmark, and I won't get it deleted for whatever reason on the other platforms. And so a month later, 5 months later, a year later, that same item will sell on a different platform because I never took the time to delete it. And I can't sell something that I've already sold to someone else months prior. And so I have to cancel the transaction. Depending on the platform, it can result in a ding on your account. I actually just maybe last week or 2 weeks ago got a notification from Facebook saying,
hey, you have canceled too many transactions and you are in danger of getting your account closed down.
I'm so sorry.
And part of that is because I don't really make that many sales over on Facebook Marketplace to begin with. And I feel like the only time people want to buy stuff over there is when I've already sold it somewhere else and just didn't get it deleted on Facebook. So that's annoying. But I would say that's the main reason why I have to cancel transactions, is just because it's already sold somewhere else and I haven't deleted it. Sometimes though, it's just I lose things. Like for example, I want to say a couple days ago, I sold this J. Crew factory top. I'm pretty sure it's still in my house somewhere. I don't think that I sold it anywhere else, and yet I cannot find it anywhere. And I had to go ahead and cancel the transaction. So instead of just being content with the idea that I suck at this, what can I do about it? I am going to commit this winter break. I am a high school choir teacher, so I do have 2 weeks off for the winter. It is pretty wonderful. But I am going to commit to taking a day to doing a full inventory check. And for me, that's going to look 2 ways. And if you're better at this than me, then please correct me in the comments below and be like, you idiot, don't do it like that. But I think I need to do 2 things. The first thing I need to do is literally look at my inventory database, and I use List Perfectly. So List Perfectly is where I keep track of, where all of my items are, their SKU, which bin they're in. And so I want to just go from 1 to, 975 or something. And I want to make sure that SKU number 1 is indeed what it says it is in my List Perfectly inventory management system. If it is not, then I know that I need to, make some changes. If there is a SKU number being used 2 or 3 times, that means that something didn't get deleted. So I just want to look at my inventory list and cross-reference it with what I have in my bins. But then secondly, I also want to go through the bins one at a time, pull out each item and make sure that the number corresponds to what's in my inventory system. And you might be asking yourselves why. That sounds super redundant. The reason for that is because there are two issues at hand. One is, do I still have things listed that I've already sold? And I'll be able to figure that out by going through my database and, just going a number at a time and making sure that it matches up. However, I feel like I need to go through the actual physical items in my inventory as well, because the last time I did a thorough inventory check, this was like way back in, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. The last time I did it, I found that there were items in the bins that had never been listed. So those things were just planning on living there forever, because how is it supposed to sell if I don't have it listed? So this is something that I have to do, I must do before we enter the year 2023, because otherwise this is going to continue to be a problem, and I refuse to suck in this way as a reseller any longer. The second way that I suck as a reseller is when it comes to wholesale. So you have heard me talk on my channel multiple times about wholesale opportunities. And I use the word wholesale loosely. Usually wholesale means you purchase like a pallet or a micro bale from a company or something like that. I have dabbled with wholesale a few times in the last couple years, and they have not all been good experiences. But when I reflect on why, it comes back to me. It comes back to I didn't fully vet not just the seller, but also what I was going to be receiving. I should have asked for more pictures. I should have asked for a better count of, the number of items. I should have asked for a manifest, and if they didn't have one created, even to pay them a little bit to make a manifest, because even if I just pay them like, hey, if that's going to take you an hour to create a manifest for like one box. By the way, if you're asking yourself, what is a manifest? A manifest is literally just a list of what you're going to be sent. So if I had said, hey, please just put together a manifest of everything in one of the boxes out of the 10 that you're going to send me, it would have saved me a lot of time, because I would have been able to figure out from the get-go if this was a smart purchase. All of the wholesale purchases that I have done in the past, I have made money on. It's not like I've lost money, but there were 1 or 2 experiences that were far more tedious than I would have liked. Just tedious in the sense of I wasn't really enjoying what was in the boxes. Tedious as far as what it took for me to have to photograph and list those items. And I think a lot of it stems from just who I am as a person. Like, I do want to help other people out. A good sob story is always going to cut right through my heart. And, if you got a good sob story, I'll probably do whatever it is that you ask. Please don't take advantage of that. But moving forward, I need to do a better job of vetting not just who's selling me the stuff, but also the product itself. I need to make sure that it's stuff that I actually want to sell, stuff that is going to be worth my time when it comes to listing. And I need to get better at saying no. I have said no a good number of times already, I must admit, but even more so. Which takes me to the third way that I suck as a reseller, and that is I have a very strong aversion to donating items that I can resell. And you might be asking yourself, what is so sucky about that? Like, isn't that a good thing? So on the topic of these wholesale boxes, sometimes I'd get these boxes and there'd be things in the boxes that I could sell for $10 or $15, and I would just make myself do it. I would just have this huge pile of stuff that I was going to take the time to photograph and list, knowing full well that those items would sell for $10 or $15. And part of my reasoning for it was because, I wanted to make sure that I was making money on this deal, but also it's that idea of waste. It's that idea of I don't want to donate this and know that it could end up in a landfill. But also in the last year, I have experimented with many alternative forms of reselling. For example, I have tried selling at my favorite pop-up consignment store instead of just shopping it. I have tried, consigning a bunch of pieces, and that's gone really well. With my kids stuff, which is probably where I struggle the most, I have been experimenting with just taking them to a kids consignment store. I've been experimenting with doing whatnot sales for kids' clothes. I've just been trying different things versus me having to go through the process of listing the item myself, because we only have so many hours in each day. And if I want to maximize the number of hours that I put into my reselling business, I need to focus more on sourcing items that are going to bring in a higher dollar amount and finding different ways to make maybe not as much money as if I were to, resell it myself, but to make some money on some of these items that isn't going to eat up as much of my time. And so that is what I'm going to try to do moving forward in the year 2023. At the beginning of 2022, I said I'm going to be so picky about only sourcing items where I can make a $20 profit or more. And actually, a viewer left a comment on one of those wholesale videos where I did an unboxing, and she said, it's not that this stuff is bad, but it's that this box is not going to help you accomplish what you had set out to do at the beginning of the year, and that was to make a $20 profit on each item. And that's the biggest reason why I need to be much pickier about trying to do any kind of wholesale deal in the future, because if I don't know what I'm getting, I might be getting a lot of stuff that isn't going to sell for a $20 profit or more, and then I'm stuck feeling guilty with all of those items that I know I'm not going to make that much money with. So 2023 is going to be the year that I stop listing items if they're not going to make me a $20 profit or more. Mainly because if you could look around my house, there is no shortage of inventory, and it can get overwhelming, and it does create a lot of clutter, and I can eliminate a lot of that just by being much pickier about what items I allow in my house for reselling purposes. The next way that I suck as a reseller, and this is such a small and easy and quick fix, but it is managing returns. If you are a reseller, and especially if you sell on eBay, you know that returns are just a part of the business. There's not really anything you can do about it. I personally on eBay just allow for returns. I don't want people to be stuck with items that they don't want, and I especially don't want people to make up an item not as described situation just so that they can lie and force eBay's hand at getting me to accept the return. I'd rather they just be honest about why they don't want the item, and 9 times out of 10 it's because of fit. It's because they get it and it doesn't fit them the way that they had hoped it would, and I don't want people to be stuck with items that don't fit them. They're probably just going to end up donating it anyway, even though it's kind of annoying and frustrating, but I know it's sold once, it'll sell again. But where I suck is at managing those returns. So the return will come back to my home, and then usually in my case, it just sits there for like months until I do something about it. Like right now, I'm looking at a little Vera Bradley wristlet that sold and was returned to me, and it's been sitting there for a good chunk of time. And that's because I don't have any systems in place when it comes to dealing with my returns. I just need to sit down, figure out, what happens as soon as something comes back to me from eBay or any other platform for that matter. Do they go in like a box or something? Is there a day of the week that I deal with the returns? I just need to have something in place so that these returns are not just like in random spaces throughout my house at all times, and I can deal with them in a timely manner so those things get relisted and sell and get out of my house. And then the last way that I suck as a reseller, and this is a little bit more big picture, is I just spread myself too thin. And, as I've gotten older, I get to know myself better and I'm more honest with myself. But it really kind of took my husband pointing out some of these things to me that I didn't even realize about myself. So for example, I've shared on this channel that there was a season of my life where I was contemplating not going back to my job as a full-time high school choir teacher. I was going to just try reselling, try YouTube, and just do that and, try to have more time at home with my kids. And I remember talking to my husband about it. We had agreed that that would be the plan. But he kept saying to me, "You're not good at just having downtime." He's like, "My fear is that now that you don't have all of those hours away from home at school, instead of doing what it is that you're saying you want to do, which is like spending more time at home and, just doing more around the house and things of that nature," he was like, "You're going to find something else to fill that time instead." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" But he's absolutely right. Whenever I have a spare 30 minutes, my first inclination is to squeeze some work into those 30 minutes. I don't know anymore how to just be still. And that's not even to say that that's, the answer or the right thing to do. But I think what he was alluding to is the fact that I do have a tendency to stretch myself too thin. There was a time when I was, at school working my full-time job, also doing 2 a cappella groups that would meet before school, also directing vocal music for the 2 musicals that we had every school year. I had a course with a weekly mentorship group that would meet for a couple hours a week. I had my reselling business. I had my YouTube channel. I just had a lot going on, and I just kept adding more to my plate. And so 2022 really was the first year that I said, hold up. I need to take a step back and I need to take some things off of my plate because this is not healthy. This is not good for me. It's not going to help me be in optimal shape to be able to get the most out of my reselling business or YouTube channel or even my job at school. I'm just always barely hanging on, and that's not good for anyone, especially me. So I started taking things off my plate. I no longer do the weekly mentorship group with the YouTube course that I had created. I do still have the course itself, and I do have plans on like what to do with that, and maybe there will be some sort of mentorship thing happening in the future, but again, that's only once I have like really streamlined everything else, because the truth is I have no business trying to do all of that on top of everything else that I have going on in my life. I told my school that I was no longer going to be the vocal music director for the musicals, so I took that off my plate, which was hours upon hours extra at work every week, and that has really helped to lighten the load. I've also just been better and more intentional about batching my work when it comes to reselling and YouTube. For example, this is the second of like 4 videos that I'm going to film today, but batching the filming side of content creation helps me streamline my process a little bit more and just kind of stay sane versus trying to film, edit, upload, film, edit, upload. It's not realistic. It's not going to work for my life. And so this, I have found, works a lot better. But probably the best guardrail for me when it comes to spreading myself too thin is just having my husband keep me accountable. Having him tell me, hey, you're doing too much. You need to take a step back. Given our relationship, I know he's not going to say that just to say it. I know if he's saying it, it's because it really is an issue at that moment. And I need to address it. I need to figure out which things can go. And I figure that out first by figuring out what are my non-negotiables. What cannot go? Well, what cannot go is my family. What cannot go is my full-time job as a high school choir teacher and the relationships that I've built with those students. Those are non-negotiable. And everything else, if there's room for it, sure, I'll keep doing it. And if not, then they have to go. And that's just the way that it is. I have to be content with the fact that I cannot do it all, and that's okay. So those are the 5 ways I have discovered I suck as a reseller, but also the ways that I plan on combating those areas of suckiness in my life. So let me know down in the comments below if any of this resonated with you. Perhaps you were struggling with, one of the same things as myself, or perhaps you were and you found a really great solution to it. All of the above, I would love to hear down in the comments below. I always appreciate your thoughtful comments, and especially, I think a lot of times people feel like,
well, I can't give her my suggestions or offer any advice. Like, she's the YouTuber, she's the content creator, like she doesn't want to hear from people like me.
I have learned so much, not just about reselling, but just about life, just about being a better person from reading some of your comments. You are insightful. You are gracious. And I know that when people leave comments with suggestions and stuff, they're all coming from a place of love. And I want you to know that's how I take it too. So anything that you feel like may be helpful, I would love to hear. Hopefully this was helpful to you as well. And if you thought so, I'd super duper appreciate a big thumbs up on this video. And if you enjoy content like this, content that hopefully speaks to your soul as a reseller, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that the end of your 2022 year is amazing, especially as we all begin prepping for the beginning of 2023. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.